My face twitched slightly, and I looked at the nearly 1.9 meter tall, mature-looking man on the hospital bed with a complex expression. What domineering CEO! What great beauty! What a mess these are! I kindly reminded him, I'm a man, and I'm still your secretary. The stuff in the book you mentioned doesn't apply to the two of us. He immediately looked dissatisfied and frowned. He looked as fierce as before. But the next second, he took out a gaudy book from under the pillow and argued his case. How doesn't it apply? We're clearly exactly the same as what's said in the book. I took the book from his hand in confusion and saw several big characters clearly printed on it. The domineering CEO and his pretty secretary. My eyelid twitched, and I had a bad premonition. I flipped through it for a couple of glances, and a strong smell of old-fashioned romance wafted over. It made me have to close the book first to take a breather. Something like, he pinched the little secretary's chin, his voice hoarse. You belong to me. And he frowned sexily, looking at the little secretary in front of him. As his reason was about to go out of control, he said, Man, you're playing with fire. Give me back my innocent eyes. Oliver, where did you get this junk? When the man heard me say this, he frowned even more tightly and snatched the book back from my hand. It's not junk. I sighed and didn't want to argue with him. Okay, if you say it's not, then it's not. But the story in it will definitely not be about the two of us. Because I'm about to quit my job, and you're going to marry someone else. Marry? Me? The man in the bed looked at me with a puzzled look in his eyes. A pang of sourness welled up in my heart. I reached out my hand to tidy up his hair and straighten his collar. Haven't you heard? Your parents are arranging a marriage partner for you. Presumably afraid that their son would have difficulty recovering in the future, Oliver's parents made early plans and looked for a good daughter-in-law to help out at home. Now, Oliver's memory has returned to its original state. He has become heterosexual again and no longer remembers the little details between us. If I were to rush in at this moment and say to him, I'm your boyfriend, don't marry another woman, I'm probably going to be thrown out as a lunatic. Not to mention what would happen if his parents found out about this. They should be glad that their son has forgotten the bad homosexual who turned a straight man.
Impossible. Absolutely impossible.
I came back to my senses and looked at the man who was speaking righteously. Oliver had a cold and stern face, with his hands crossed and hanging down. He looked as if he was presiding over an important meeting. Normally, the vicious female supporting character shouldn't appear so early. What on earth is all this? What vicious female supporting character? The girls your parents are looking for you are all proper and good girls. You, if you really fall in love with someone in the future, control your temper. Don't shout and scream all day long. And don't be too clingy. Not everyone can bear your clinginess. I swallowed all the struggles in my heart and only hoped that the person in front of me would be well in the future. Oliver, don't blame me. How many more 8-year periods are there in life that can allow me to walk back to your side again? Are you going to run away with a child now? The mood I had just worked up was completely shattered by his words. What thing? Isn't our progress a bit too fast? I haven't even done that with you yet. And you're about to leave with the ball? Oliver, are you sure you lost your memory? Not your wits. The man glanced at me and then lowered his head. Strangely enough, I seemed to see a bit of grievance in his expression. You have such a sharp tongue. I looked at the man sitting on the hospital bed, fidgeting with his fingers, feeling utterly speechless and not knowing whether to cry or laugh. He used to say this to me too. Every time he said it, he would always come over and give me a couple of kisses. I love kissing you even if your lips are poisoned, was his way of appeasing me whenever I was about to scold him. Fine. I have a sharp tongue. Then I'll stop bothering you, okay? I was just saying this, and I hadn't even done anything yet, but he suddenly grabbed the sleeve of my clothes. No. I like you even if you have a sharp tongue. The book says this is your unique personality. That's why I like you. People tend to laugh when they're speechless. And that's exactly how I feel now. I snatched the book from his hand and gave him a light tap on the head. Forget about like or dislike. I think it's better to take away your book. He held on to my sleeve tightly with one hand while trying to reach for the book in my hand with the other. He was so persistent yet clumsy, looking rather childish. I'm used to seeing him serious, strong and mature. His current appearance is quite refreshing. Brother, I'm here. How are you? His voice came before he did. Hearing this familiar voice, I instinctively replied, "Not good." Oliver looked up at me, looking puzzled. "What's wrong?" Suddenly, the door was pushed open forcefully, and a well-dressed boy in designer clothes rushed in. As soon as he came in, he pushed me aside and hugged Oliver's arm, then started wailing. "Brother, how are you? I just found out that you had a car accident. I've been so worried about you." The person who came was Owen, Oliver's cousin. He was also someone who made me feel uncomfortable. Oliver was stunned for a few seconds at first, and then he pulled his arm out with force. "Who are you? Didn't my parents say I'm an only child?" He asked me the second half of the sentence while looking at me. I had no choice but to introduce him. "This is your cousin." Seeing this, the boy wailed even louder. "Brother, don't you really remember me?" Oliver glanced at him, looking a bit resistant. "I don't even remember my parents. What do you think?" Owen showed no sign of being discouraged. He kept asking questions, but in the end, Oliver didn't get close to him much. He stopped talking and then turned to me and said, "Hey, Liam, I've been here for so long. Don't you know to pour me a glass of water?" I raised my eyebrows and didn't intend to pay attention to him. "Forget it. I'll have coffee instead. Go downstairs and order me a cup of Starbucks with sugar." I rolled my eyes. Just as I was about to retort, Oliver started speaking first. "Hey, who are you ordering around?" Owen turned around and put on a smiling face again. "Brother, I know he's your secretary, but we're family. Your secretary is my secretary too. I'm just asking him to run an errand for me." Oliver pulled a long face and frowned. "Firstly, officially speaking, he's my work assistant hired with high salary and good benefits, not your lackey. You have no right to order him around condescendingly." I nodded in agreement, thinking that even though Oliver had lost his memory, his IQ was still online. "Secondly, privately speaking, he's your brother-in-law. As a junior, how can you ask an elder to run errands for you?" I take back what I just said. "Brother-in-law? Who?" Owen looked completely confused. "Your brother is not in a clear state of mind right now and needs rest. Please come back later." I quickly issued an order for him to leave. I semi-forcefully dragged Owen out of the ward and then looked seriously at Oliver. "What are you talking nonsense about? Here it comes. Here it comes." "What comes?" The stubborn wife refuses to admit their relationship. The CO is heartbroken and decides to punish his wife in bed to force her to say. With his extremely mature and handsome face, he said these embarrassing words expressionlessly. I covered his mouth with one hand, with veins popping on my forehead. "Ji-young, Ki." He stopped and pouted to kiss the palm of my hand. I moved my hand away with a look of disgust and wiped it on his body. I really want to grab him and shake him and make him return my steady, reliable and taciturn boyfriend. "Liam, you're here too." I looked back and saw that it was Oliver's parents. On the bench outside the ward, Mr. and Mrs. Jiang specifically called me out. "Liam, you've really worked hard. The company's affairs rely on you, and you're still taking care of Oliver here. If it weren't for you, I don't know how worried we'd be." Mrs. Jiang held my hand and thanked me softly. "It's okay, Auntie. This is all my duty. As a secretary, it's my duty to manage the company for the boss. And as a boyfriend, it's also my duty to take care of my lover. It's just that I don't know how long this duty can last. Liam, to be honest, your uncle and I have recently been discussing Oliver's marriage issue and want to ask for your opinion. I suddenly clenched my palm tightly. Do you want to ask if there are any recommended candidates? Sorry, I may. I stammered and secretly scolded myself for being indecisive. Didn't I already expect this day to come? Why am I so unwilling when it actually happens? Mrs. Jiang took over the conversation and shook her head.
No.
Actually, I want to ask. Liam, can you marry Oliver? Marry? I was startled and tried to look calm, looking at the middle-aged couple in front of me who were more nervous than I was. Uncle and aunt. I'm a man. I forced out these words with difficulty, my mind in a complete mess. The couple across from me exchanged a glance, their eyes showing disappointment. Mrs. Jiang began to sob. Auntie knows it's difficult for you, but Oliver's father had someone do some calculations. Having a happy event like a wedding for Oliver might help him recover faster. You know Oliver's temper. It's not easy for his father and me to just find someone for him randomly. You, Liam, have been by his side for a long time. If he regains his memory, he won't say anything to you. Liam, as his parents, we really have no other choice. Judging from Oliver's performance just now, he should agree, but I still have to put on a show. Auntie, please don't cry. I can marry him, but I'm afraid that he, in his current state, may not agree. The mother, who had just been crying, wiped away her tears and spoke firmly again. You don't have to worry about this. This wedding has to take place, no matter what he thinks now. After Oliver's parents entered the ward, I frowned and tried to calm my mind. What on earth is going on? I couldn't figure it out no matter how hard I thought. Finally, I decided to take things one step at a time. I pushed open the door of the ward. It seemed that their family had already discussed things. As soon as I entered, they smiled and invited me over. If it weren't for the fact that I really like Oliver, I think I was being tricked into a marriage. Oliver reached out his hand to me, signaling me to go over. While Uncle and Aunt Jiang were still paying attention to me, I quickened my steps and slapped his hand down. Oliver let out a muffled groan and looked up at me, looking a bit aggrieved. I pursed my lips uneasily. It's not my fault. I'm used to not being able to be affectionate with him in front of others. Mrs. Jiang held my hand again. Liam, I've already talked to Oliver. When he gets better and can stand up, the two of you will go public. If you're willing, Auntie and Uncle will arrange a wedding for you two. If you're not, then we won't. It all depends on your preference. I hesitated for a moment and stammered. As for the wedding, of course, we have to hold it. Oliver firmly took over the conversation. Because I want the whole world to know that Liam is my Oliver's husband. Without turning around, I precisely reached out and pinched Oliver's mouth without even looking. Uncle and Aunt, it's all okay with me, but it mainly depends on how busy the company is. Okay, then Mom and Dad will arrange it for you as we see fit. Mom and Dad? My face flushed, and I awkwardly replied, okay. After seeing off Uncle and Aunt, I returned to the ward and saw Oliver still pouting, maintaining the posture of being pinched. I couldn't help but let out a soft laugh. What's wrong? Is your mouth made for being shaped? It can even be pinched to be pouty. Humph. Oliver responded with this nasal sound, which really surprised me. I couldn't help but curl up my eyebrows and almost burst out laughing. I sat on the edge of his bed and tapped his lips. What's the matter? Why don't you want to have a wedding? Oliver pouted even more. I originally wanted to explain it to him properly, like our wedding might be questioned by the outside world. The public opinion might have an impact on the company, and also the tight schedule. But looking at his childish behavior, I suddenly didn't want to have such a serious conversation with him. I tilted my head back and pretended to think. Maybe it's because our first wedding is doomed not to be held properly. Oliver sat up suddenly, and his broad upper body completely enveloped me. Why not? After all these years, I still couldn't quite get used to Oliver's sudden sense of oppression. I unconsciously leaned back. Because isn't the plot of fleeing a wedding a standard in domineering CEO novels? I tilted my head and asked him rhetorically. Then I watched helplessly as this rather large man showed an expression of shyness and coyness similar to that of a young girl on his face. He lay back straight and covered his face with the quilt. I pulled the quilt off him amusingly. Get up. Don't suffocate yourself. He sat up abruptly again and clung to me. I scratched his chin, just like teasing a puppy. Are you that happy to act with you? Oliver wouldn't let me tease him. He turned his face away and buried it in my neck. After a long while, he said in a muffled voice, "Yes, I'm happy." After returning to the small home that Oliver and I shared from the hospital, who had been smiling all day, couldn't help but let out a sigh. Now the Jiang family is resorting to this expedient measure just to get Oliver better as soon as possible. But what about after Oliver recovers? Could I really spend the rest of my life with Oliver in this ambiguous state? After work the next day, I took the lunchbox as usual and went to the hospital to visit Oliver. But this time, he wasn't the only one in the ward. Liam. There's only one person who would call me like this. Oliver's older sister, Sophia. Senior, why are you back? I excitedly put down the lunchbox in my hand and looked at the senior. What else could it be? Of course, it's because of this brat. How was it for you abroad? Senior, did the project go smoothly? The senior is a person who focuses on her studies and doesn't socialize much, so we don't usually talk much. Rarely seeing each other, I felt like I had a lot of questions to ask her. The senior patted my head and spoke in a relaxed tone. Yeah, it went quite smoothly.
Liam, I'm hungry.
I was chatting happily with the senior when Oliver suddenly butted in. Although it was a bit strange, I still picked up the lunchbox that was right beside his hand and handed it to him. If you're hungry, just eat. Feed me. Before I could say anything, the senior spoke up first. Come on, Oliver. You've only hit your head, not your hands. Why do you always order Liam around? Eat by yourself. Although I thought the same way, I still very considerately set up the bedside table for him and laid out the food. Then I asked the senior, Senior, have you had your meal? Can I treat you? The senior gave a charming smile. Sure. How about going to that spicy hot pot place near our university? I've been craving it so much abroad. Sure. That sounds great. Before leaving, I suddenly remembered something and instructed Oliver, who hadn't moved at all. Finish the porridge. Okay. I specially cooked it for a long time. At 9 o'clock in the evening, after having dinner with the senior sister and sending her home, I then turned and went to the hospital. I've been a bit busy today and haven't even had a chat with Oliver. After arriving at the ward, I saw Oliver sitting there alone. It seemed that the several lunch boxes in front of him hadn't been touched at all. I checked and found that only the porridge had been finished. I was almost laughed out of anger. I asked him seriously, Oliver, why do you waste food? Oliver folded his arms and leaned back, looking exactly like a lord. Shouldn't you ask what I'm angry about? I sighed. Who knows about you? You're angry every day. Oliver grabbed my forearm dissatisfiedly and said something off topic. Do you like my sister? I was greatly shocked. What are you talking about? Don't you know that your sister already has a husband? Oliver nodded to himself. Then you have a secret crush on her, right? I almost had to smile wryly and shake my head at his unreasonable behavior. How could there be someone who loves to make wild guesses so much? If I liked your sister, why would I agree to marry you? Oliver nodded, but there was no sign of agreement in his attitude. Got it. You're using me as a substitute for her. Question mark. A perspective I've never even considered. I instinctively denied it, but unconsciously began to scrutinize Oliver carefully. He does bear some resemblance to the senior sister in terms of his eyebrows and eyes. Both of them are tall. Oliver is like the male version of the senior sister. I'm very much like the male version of my elder sister, right? Caught off guard by him voicing my thoughts, I was slow to react and nodded. By the time I came to my senses, Oliver had already put on a cold look. I had only seen him like this when he was dealing with others. For a moment, I felt a bit annoyed. I couldn't help but want to question him. I've always gotten along with the senior sister like this before, and you've never acted like this. But thinking about his illness, I still calmed down first and planned to explain the reasoning to him in detail. You do look a bit like the senior sister, but I only feel gratitude and respect for the senior sister. My feelings for you are different. Oh? Then what kind of feelings do you have for me? Oliver folded his arms and looked at me leisurely. I suddenly lost my words and stammered. Just. After stuttering for a long time, I abruptly changed the topic. Is this how your plot is supposed to develop? It's so absurd. Oliver sighed, looking a bit helpless. He pulled me into his arms and whispered in my ear. It really shouldn't develop like this. I should have just done this and that to you directly instead of listening to your rambling here. I felt a bit ticklish in my ear from his breath and dodged with a soft laugh. Liam, don't play the substitute game with me. If you love someone, you can only love me, Oliver. Somehow, my ears started to feel a bit hot. I didn't know if it was from embarrassment or what. Got it. You're so childish now. I'm going to record you and play it back to you when you regain your memory. Oliver shrugged his shoulders indifferently. Whatever. It's not embarrassing to strive for love anyway. Oliver, why do you always make me uncontrollably imagine our future? Everything was going on smoothly, and the wedding arrangements were also started as scheduled. Uncle and aunt from the Jiang family had arranged everything for me, but the only thing I needed to solve got stuck right from the start. I didn't want to invite my family to attend, but I didn't expect that my mom still came to me. She was holding a slovenly junior high school boy by the hand and also brought a girl full of impatience. As soon as she came up, she asked me, "You're getting married? How much is the betrothal gift?" I replied calmly and unhurriedly with a flat look in my eyes. "I'm a man. There's no such thing as a betrothal gift." She grabbed my arm tightly, so hard that it hurt. "Stop pretending. I know you're the one playing the female role. How could there be no betrothal gift?" I controlled my facial expression and gently pried her hand off me as steadily as possible. "I said there isn't. The alimony I send you every month is already more than enough. You don't need to think about anything else." Her voice suddenly became shrill. "What do you mean I don't need to think about it? I'm your mom. It was me who carried you in my womb for 10 months and gave birth to you." I pinched the palm of my hand, trying to calm down. "Yes, it was you who gave birth to me. Otherwise, a person like you who sends high school students to old men's beds should be in prison instead of standing in front of me greedily making demands." In the end, I still couldn't control myself and raised my voice. How could a woman who, upon learning that her son is gay, sends her own child to her husband's client's bed, have the nerve to say, "I'm your mom"? The woman in front of me obviously felt guilty, but she still didn't give up and pushed the older girl towards me. "Well, your sister has grown up. There should be many wealthy bosses around your partner. Introduce some to her." I sighed impatiently and didn't want to talk to her anymore, but she still wouldn't give up and came up with another bad idea. "If it really doesn't work, it's okay to let your sister be a surrogate for your partner. Their family is so rich. They can't really not have a biological child, right?" Hearing this, the junior high school boy let out a sneer and looked at the slightly older sister playfully, his eyes full of mockery. The girl looked pale, but she lowered her head and didn't dare to say anything. I was so angry that I laughed, and my tone was no longer calm. "Don't you know that surrogacy is illegal? Won't you stop until you go to jail once?" "What's surrogacy?" I was so furious that I only calmed down again when I heard a familiar voice. Looking back, sure enough, it was Oliver walking over. You must be Oliver. I'm Liam's mother. My son is useless and has caused you trouble. Oliver smiled very faintly and didn't shake hands with her. It's not troublesome. Liam is so excellent. I'm grateful to him. My mother awkwardly retracted her hand, and her smile became a bit stiff. But she quickly adjusted and pushed the girl forward. She was just about to say something when Oliver raised his hand to stop her. I know what you want to say. First, there are no beasts around me who would target minors. I won't be the kind of scumbag who facilitates such things. Second, I don't need surrogacy. We can adopt children or donate money for charity. We don't necessarily need a child to inherit. Third, if you come to harass my lover again, he is kind-hearted and has a strong sense of morality. But I won't be so lenient. As he said this, several security guards suddenly appeared and stood behind him. Although I thought this scene was a bit strange, it was undoubtedly effective. In the end, my mother reluctantly dragged the others away. I took out the pen and note that Oliver always kept from his breast pocket, wrote a few words, and chased after them. When I came back, Oliver was still waiting for me in the same place. Before he could ask, I explained first. I went to give a note to my stepsister. Although we don't have the same father, I think she needs someone to help her escape. Do what you want to do. I'll support you in everything. These few words made it seem like the old him had come back. I stared at him blankly until he asked me, "What's wrong?" I shook my head and came to my senses. "It's nothing. I'm sorry you had to see that today." "See something funny? How could it be? I already knew about these things." I tilted my head, a bit confused. "How did you know? I never mentioned it to you. Could it be that you—" Just as the doubts arose, Oliver took out a book with colorful covers from somewhere. It's all written in the book. Behind every stubborn and tough white flower, there's a broken family. I was wrong. I shouldn't have doubted him. If Oliver could say these words expressionlessly without losing his memory, then my 8-year crush on him would have been in vain. I couldn't help laughing and gently shook my head. "Well, this book is a bit insightful. Then, Mr. Oliver, would you like to have lunch with this white flower now?" Oliver raised his eyebrows. "Inviting me to lunch voluntarily? Man, you should know that just one meal can't satisfy me." I was so amused that I couldn't stop laughing. I covered his mouth with my hand and looked around. "Keep your voice down. Is it something to be proud of? If one meal isn't enough, have two. Really?" Oliver's eyes also curved up, and he mumbled, "No. I can only be full if I eat you." After lunch, I started to help Oliver get familiar with the business again. Strange. Although he lost his memory, he picked up the work quickly. Is this what they call talent? In the afternoon, an important client was coming. After repeatedly emphasizing the theme of this meeting and the necessary social etiquette to Oliver, I accompanied him to greet the client with confidence. However, I didn't expect that the other party didn't seem to care much about these aspects. "Liam," James called out as soon as he arrived. I maintained a smile and led Oliver to shake hands. "Mr. James, you've come at a good time. It's Mr. Oliver's first day back at work, and he's all set to receive you." James just gave Oliver a rather impolite glance and then quickly shifted his gaze back to me. "Oh, Mr. Oliver is back. But this project should still be followed up by you, Liam. Whether it's for business or personal reasons, you're the most suitable person. I think Mr. Oliver won't mind, right?" I kept my smile unchanged. "Mr. James, you're joking. I was just temporarily handling this project on behalf of Mr. Oliver. Now that Mr. Oliver has recovered, I naturally can't overstep my bounds anymore." Oliver openly scoffed, and everyone looked at him in surprise. My heart skipped a beat. Oh no, is Oliver's domineering CEO persona about to emerge? Sure enough, Oliver pulled me behind him and smiled fakely. Why would I mind? Anyway, Liam and I are getting married soon. The company is our joint enterprise. Of course, I'll support him in running business for our family. I gasped and closed my eyes as if I didn't want to face it. All our efforts to keep our relationship a secret in the company for so long have gone down the drain. There was soon a buzz around. My colleagues seemed very excited. James frowned. Getting married? Why so suddenly? Liam, what's going on? Well, let's talk about business first. We'll discuss this private matter later. Darling, can't we just tell him that we're in love? I stared at Oliver, who looked innocent, with my eyes wide open in disbelief. Before I could say anything, James stepped forward excitedly. You're in love? Why, I've been chasing Liam for 3 years. If anyone is going to be in love with him, it should be me first. Just because you've been chasing him for 3 years? As far as I know, I've been working with him for 5 years. The computer in my office has spent more time with him than you have. Do you think you can just daydream your way into his heart? Just like that, the two company bosses started arguing with each other in a very ungentlemanly and undignified way. The gossiping voices of the colleagues around grew louder and louder. I couldn't stand it anymore. I gritted my teeth and separated the two men who were getting closer and closer to each other. No private matters are allowed to be discussed within the company. Are you not going to proceed with the project? James spat into the air and mumbled. Stealing from the nest. How shameless. Oliver also spat back defiantly. Coveting a married man. How despicable. The two men's eyes became tense again. In this situation, would it be too much for me to give each of them a slap? But James is an important client after all, so I could only tug at Oliver's sleeve first. Mr. Oliver, pay attention to the company's image. After being reminded, Oliver reluctantly turned his head away. I put on a professional smile again and apologized to James. I'm sorry for the unpleasant sight. Please wait in the reception room for a moment. We'll quickly tidy up the meeting room and get the materials ready. In Oliver's office, he still wore a look of indignation on his face. I also got angry. How could you talk to the client like that? Is the importance of this project something you can just treat casually? Oliver frowned and stood up. His intentions towards you were so obvious. Should I just pretend not to see? Losing this project won't cause any significant loss to our company. But losing you, I can't bear it. I sighed. Instead of being comforted by this love confession, I felt deeply powerless. You weren't like this before. How come you can't tell what's more important now? I don't care about who I was before. Anyway, now you're mine. I won't let anyone with ill intentions get close to you. Looking at his childish and stubborn self, a strange feeling suddenly welled up in my heart. Oliver, just because you've read a few domineering CEO novels, do you think you can love me so much? Do you think you can regard me as your possession? Do you think you can be sure that we'll definitely fall in love with each other? He was silent for a while, and my doubts deepened. I've not only read a few novels, I've also seen someone crying silently outside my hospital ward every day, seen someone hiding deep exhaustion behind a smile, and seen someone insisting on bringing me homemade meals regardless of the wind and rain. Liam, I may have lost my memory, but I can see the love in a person's eyes. You like me. Why don't you want to admit it and show it to others? It seems like I'm the only one being enthusiastic. I felt a complex mix of emotions. He had said something similar during our fierce argument last time. However, if we were to part ways one day, wouldn't all these overly revealed feelings of love turn into a joke? Just like my mother's 3 marriages. All of them ended up in a lose-lose situation. If heterosexual relationships are already like this, what about homosexual ones? Let's calm down separately first. Avoiding the problem when I can't solve it is a self-preservation method I've learned over the years. Coward. I looked at Oliver in surprise as he spoke. Why are you swearing? I'm swearing at you. I don't care how submissive I was before. But now, Liam, it's impossible for you to back off and abandon me. He hugged me tightly, as if he wanted to blend me into his very being. Liam, Don't leave me, okay? I gradually gave in and hugged him back. I have no right to abandon anyone. In fact, it's always been me who's afraid of being abandoned. After barely getting through a day's work, I walked towards the underground parking lot, exhausted both physically and mentally. Just as I sat in the driver's seat, someone suddenly jumped into the passenger seat. Who else could it be but Oliver? I looked at him in confusion. What are you doing? I'm going home with you. Can't I pay a home visit to my subordinate? Ha! It's not like we're primary school students. What's with the home visit? Moreover, the house I'm going back to is full of traces of the life I shared with Oliver. If he finds out about it now, who knows how he'll interrogate me?
No.
Go back to your own home. I'm not going. We stared at each other, neither of us willing to give in first. I don't want to go back to those houses. They're all empty. I always feel they're not the homes I should live in. I actually softened up, but still hesitated for a moment. But my home is also empty. There's only me there. Oliver put on his seat belt with a playful smile. Then it won't be empty with me added. Helpless, I started the car. Along the way, Oliver kept chattering to me. Sometimes he said, what if there wasn't enough room for 2 people in my house? Sometimes he said that in the campus novels he read, rich young masters always liked the shabby but warm-hearted homes of the innocent characters, so he wouldn't dislike mine. I was so speechless that I wanted to laugh. My lips were curled up all the way. Finally, I stopped the car downstairs of a high-rise apartment building. Come on, young master. Let's go and see my shabby little home. Oliver's face was a bit red, but he still coughed twice and continued to be stubborn. Well, it doesn't seem to be very shabby. I'll just take a look then. I really wanted to flick him on the head. After entering the house, I skillfully took off my clothes and hung them up. By the way, I took off Oliver's coat and hung it up too. Realizing that I had been a bit too natural, I casually made up an excuse. Come in and sit anywhere. Make yourself at home. The next second, Oliver pointed at a photo frame on the TV table with sharp eyes and asked, why do you have a photo of the 2 of us in your house? Do you have a crush on me? See, how could I possibly hide this from him? If you think so, then it's true. Oliver ignored me and started wandering around, shouting and exclaiming all the time. Your house even has slippers of different sizes. These big ones fit me perfectly. You use 2 toothbrush holders too. They're even a couple's set. There are so many watches in your place. I've never seen you wear one. This one is quite similar to the one on my wrist. Your wardrobe? Why are there clothes in 2 different sizes? Wait a minute. This piece fits me perfectly. I leaned against the doorway of the cloakroom, watching Oliver rummaging around with obvious excitement. All right, stop rummaging. They're all prepared for you. Oliver walked over and pressed his face against mine. You like me so much. Huh? Yeah. He smiled, as if he had discovered something new and interesting. You actually dared to admit it. How unusual. At the familiar dining table, with my familiar dining companion. Since Oliver's accident, I could finally calm down and have a proper dinner. Oliver still had the same problem of playing with his phone while eating. Halfway through the meal, he suddenly spoke up. Do you know that my phone got broken when I had the accident? I nodded with a mouthful of food. Of course I knew. Otherwise, how could I have kept it from him for so long? I asked my parents to send the phone for repair. They said it's fixed now. I'll go pick it up tomorrow. Suddenly, the food in my mouth became hard to swallow. I gulped down several mouthfuls of water to get the food down. Well, I have something to tell you after dinner. Oliver looked up at me, while I lowered my head guiltily. After dinner, on the sofa, I hung my head and nervously pinched my fingers. You mean, actually we're in a relationship. And you didn't tell me the truth, because you were afraid I'd change my sexual orientation after losing my memory? Oliver sat in the main seat on the sofa, looking as if he was interrogating a prisoner. Liam, you're something. But my concerns aren't completely unfounded, right? So what are you planning to do? Just let things slide and wipe out everything between us? Then quit your job and run away? Let our parents arrange a wedding for me and let me marry someone I don't love? And then wait for me to suffer miserably after I regain my memory and spend the rest of my life in regret? It's not that serious, is it? I don't understand. Is it because I didn't love you enough before that made you have such thoughts? I don't think so. If I didn't love you enough, we wouldn't have come this far. The only possibility is, Liam, the problem lies with you. Indeed, as expected of Oliver, you hit the nail on the head. I was speechless, but he didn't let it go. Let me think. Just the conflicts in these few days include Owen, who bossed you around but was indulged by you. My sister, who is presumably your true love. Your family that you've been hiding, and James, who openly pursues you using work as an excuse. If I'm not wrong, we must have been in a secret relationship at your request before. But you chose to bear it all alone and were ready to leave at any time. I was the one who always went along with your ideas, afraid that a tough attitude would drive you away. Am I right? I nodded. It seemed that was really the case. Then we must not have been loving each other, but drifting apart. Oliver made a final summary. I had nothing to say in response. What could I say? What I thought was, letting go is the highest realm of love, didn't seem to hold water with Oliver at all. Oliver got up and walked in front of me, then knelt down on one knee. Sometimes, I really wish our relationship could be as simple as in the books. You hide and evade, while I straightforwardly lock you up. Even if our emotions become a complete mess, we could still be entangled with each other for a lifetime. He grabbed my wrist, as if he really had such an idea. However, compared with my impulse to possess you, I seem to hope that you can always be happy even more, even if the person standing beside you is not me. Am I really spineless? Even after losing my memory, I still can't forget to love you in a way that puts you first in everything. I pulled out my wrist and held his palm in return. It's me who is spineless. But Oliver, I'm not a born coward. I've also thought about being with you forever. However, all the voices are telling me that it's impossible. By the end, my voice choked with sobs. For the first time, I was no longer Liam, the one who erected thorns all over because of being bruised all over, but just a young lad who was at a loss in the face of this first and precious love. Oliver raised his hand and pretended to cover my ears. Don't listen to them. Just listen to me. Liam, listen to me. I love you. Even if I lose my memory 1,000 times, 10,000 times, I'll only fall in love with you again and again. I never thought that one day, I would cry my eyes out because of such a cheesy line. Strangely enough, after having a good cry, I felt much more relaxed. It was as if I had been injected with infinite courage to keep going. That night, I talked to Oliver about so many things. I told him all the little details of the past and listed all the good things he had done for me as if I were showing off my most precious treasures. Finally, he propped his face up with a smile and looked at me. You remember everything so clearly. Is it because I love you so much, or because you love me so much? I felt my face getting hot and turned around to avoid looking at him. He leaned over and hugged me. Go to sleep. I won't tease you anymore. After a long time, I opened my eyes. Oliver. Huh. Are you asleep? Eh? Yes. Then, I love you. Oliver buried his face in my hair ends. His voice muffled. Me too. I closed my eyes, but couldn't help curving my lips. Occasionally saying such things actually seems quite nice. The wedding was postponed in the end, because I don't want to marry Oliver just like that, using the excuse of treating an illness. I'll wait for him to regain his memory. I want to be with a complete Oliver formally and openly. It's also strange that after I was honest with Mom and Dad of the Jiang family about my relationship with Oliver and this idea, they quickly accepted it. Their calm attitude made me a bit unable to accept it. Just like that, Even more strangely, just 1 month after this incident, Oliver announced that he had regained his memory. Although I didn't believe it, when I asked him about the past, he could answer very clearly. He even remembered what I was wearing when I first met him. Although it was hasty, I still took out the ring I'd saved up to buy with sweaty palms. Although it's a bit sudden, I really did plan to say this when you regained your memory. Oliver, would you like to be with me? For a lifetime. Oliver was also stunned for a moment. Then he playfully covered his mouth and let out an exclamation. But I saw that there were already tears in the corners of his eyes. Really? Is it for me? I nodded and opened the ring box to put it on for him. Oliver exaggeratedly raised his hand and looked at it from side to side. What has made our Liam so romantic today? I smiled helplessly, but still followed his words and said, because I really love you very much. The mature and steady Oliver taught me how to put up my hard thorns, while the childish Oliver taught me, in the world, it's not just about the misfortunes that require us to put up thorns. More often, there are also moments when we need to express our love.